Can you talk about your personal journey and how it led you to where you are today?
In the beginning, most people cannot remember when they were 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. I can. All the way to your low back?
Yes.
Nice. I can remember the weather. I can remember the smells, the sounds. Oh, you're one of the sisters, right?
Yeah.
Chin down. Down, look over my. Okay, now relax. Relax your head.
Ay, señor.
The sounds of the locust in Texas to the smells of just growing up, of the house, the grass. When it comes to my healing in this personal journey, I do remember it was probably around 6 or 7 years old. My granddad, he had a problem with his hands and they hurt. I'm only about 6 or 7 years old, but I remember my parents worrying. And there is a special love between a child and their grandparents. It's a different kind of love. It's not the same love as you have for your parents. And most of you can agree with that. But when my grandfather told my parents that, his hands hurt, and my parents were worried, it's only natural for me to worry. And I was thinking, oh man, if my grandfather's hands doesn't work, we can't go fishing. So I patiently watched and I looked at my grandfather and nothing was happening. And I think, they probably already went to the doctor because the U.S. military covered by, they have insurance, you just go to the doctor on the base. Because in Western medicine, a cured patient is a lost customer. Type O blood? I can feel it in your bones. I remember reaching out to his fingers and squeezing it in his finger, and they were hard like rocks. It's the first time I learned what arthritis was. And my grandfather looked at me and said, I'll give you 30 minutes. And that their old, very, very old grandfather clock chimed. And it was very old. It was like from Germany after the war. Had this deep, deep chime. I kept touching and squeezing and seeing making my mind see if I can get those fingers to work. And the grandfather clock chimed every 30 minutes and it went off. And then my grandfather, his hands moved and I saw, the facial expression of, wow. And he gave me the other hand and said, I'll give you another 30 minutes. So after that next 30 minutes, same thing happened and grandfather took me fishing. My concern, as a child was, the well-being, but I want my grandfather really to take me fishing to the catfish hole. And inside my mind, I want my grandfather's hands to work because if they work, we can go fishing. That's the innocent mind of a child. It's not necessarily praying or wishing, but it was manifesting me and my grandfather going fishing. Relax this one. I say that fishing with not fishing, I say fishing because I grew up in Texas.
Sabi ko, what if matry ito? baka ito yung solusyon, no?
And this was how long? God damn, an hour and a half? You can fast forward time until I moved back to the Philippines around 1986.
Last year po, may mga nararamdaman ako dito sa likod, back pain. Then nagtanong-tanong ako sa mga kaibigan ko kung paano ma-heal tong sakit ng lower back pain ko.
I've already wrestled, bowled, played baseball. I'm athletic. Wanted to study martial arts.
Last year pa sana ako magpa-session kay Coach Ken, pero hindi ko na naabutan dahil fully booked siya.
I wanted to study martial arts because I saw people walking around with a scream of sticks, and parents were supporting them, taking courses down at the youth center. I asked my father if he would, if I could do this, and he said to me that if you want to do that, get a job. You're going to use it for the wrong reasons.
Sabi ko, ito na siguro yung solusyon para matanggal tong sakit dito sa likod ko. Kasi marami din akong nakikita sa mga Facebook, no, sa page niya, na dati tabingi yung mga katawan nila, tapos diretso na. Sabi ko, what if matry ito? Baka ito yung solusyon, no?
Exhale. So basically, that's when I started working at the age of 13, mostly to pay for martial arts.
Hilot niya sa akin kanina, halos lahat ng joints ko tumutunog.
Relax.
Yung mga spinal column ko ganon, naramdaman ko talaga. Medyo takot lang ako. Baka sabi ko, baka mabali na ako. Ang laking tao. Hinihila yung ko ganon.
I worked for the 3rd Transportation Squadron as a mechanic assistant. I used to help repair the refueling trucks for the F-4 fighter jets. The local Philippine civilian mechanic was an older man and in his 60s at the time. He was a master of Ishinryu, which is a Japanese Okinawa martial art. And here I got a job to study martial arts so I could pay for it, but when I got my job, I found my Mr. Miyagi. There's that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So I cleaned those cars, I cut the grass, and we would train. Meditate, breathe. But what was really interesting is my sensei, his name is Tony, always had this mannerism of rolling his shoulder. A lot of you see people doing that. They're just like, they can't stop. Shoulders bothering them, basically. I wouldn't even say it's a mannerism. We call it mannerism, but to tell you the truth, somebody's got pain. Testing. Oh, God. So one day we were sparring, and I told my sensei to stop, stay straight. And it was like an attack, and I jumped towards him, and I pushed his shoulder, put one hand back and pushed his shoulder back. And there was a loud pop.
Let it stretch. Siki, stretch.
And my sensei, he was startled, and then he moved his shoulder in that mannerism, and he was like, how did you know to do what you did? And I just said, I saw it. He looked at me and said, you're learning how to be a tough guy when it comes to martial arts. Martial arts, karate is for defense only kind of mentality, and also for discipline. And most people these days, they want to break a person. Instead of breaking a person, if you use it to fix a person, your karma will be better.
Nakita ko talaga yung diferensya. Dati pati yung sulat itong pangalan na Rudy Project sa picture, pataas siya. Tabingin yung shoulder ko, ganun. After niyang inilot yung katawan ko, malayo talaga yung diferensya, diretso. At saka yung likod ko, medyo nabawasan yung sakit. At saka yung pagtayo ko, ramdam ko na malayo talaga.
And then over the years, I have no way to know how many people since I'm 6 years old, how many people that I've fixed. It's just a question that I had for my own self, you know. How many people are coming across my way? So I said, well, let me start counting and let me set myself a goal. How does 10,000 people in 10 years, the next 10 years, how does that sound? Throughout the years, I found jobs that, you know, like mechanic, painting buildings, electrical, lighting. Then I became a manager for UPS, and then I always went to the gym, stay in shape, take out my frustration and stress. I saw a guy working with people, older people, and this guy's wearing a t-shirt and shorts, and he's a personal trainer, and I inquired. I felt a calling to become a personal trainer because I could help people, and I can wear shorts. I can wear tennis shoes. I didn't have to wear a tie and dress up shoes and iron my clothes. I hated doing that, and I hated the politics of management. It wasn't me. So when I found out that being a personal trainer, I could work with people, I could help people, I became a very, very busy personal trainer, working 5 a.m. till 8. But here's the thing. Inside the gym, I have a client I'm working with, and I see some guy struggling on a shoulder press or a bench press, and I just see him. I can see he's in pain or something's not right. I can just go up to him and, hey, come here. Do it again. Hey, man, thanks. What did you do? I don't know. I just did it. I healed you, I fixed you, like a mechanic. If you have a business and you got people going to the gym and, you know, they're trying to lose weight, they're losing weight, but people go in there, they got ailments. You don't go to the gym to fix an ailment. But then there was me. I would fix people just on the fly. I might not even know who they are, but I would just come here. And people just came and I just fixed them. Over the years, this question started coming to me like, why? Why am I this way? You know, the only feedback I can get from my mom was, you're just like your grandfather, your Lolo in the Philippines. I don't really know him personally. I met him, but I didn't really know him because the language barrier. They didn't speak much English. They sure as heck couldn't understand an English kid with a Southern Texan accent. That's about all I got. So one day I was sitting on my boat on a lake on a summer day, thinking how comfortable I was, what I had accomplished. What's next? There's got to be an answer to why I'm this way. So I was in June of 2008. By September 2008, I was in the Philippines. I did not move to the Philippines with the intentions of making money. Most Filipinos leave this country to go abroad to make money to send it home. I always tell people my mother was escaping poverty. I'm the child that got her that passport. And growing up in the States, you know, your parents, your mother just wants you to succeed and not struggle. And one day, I left the comfort zone and jumped into what she was leaving. No regrets. I say the Filipino is resilient. I can survive living in a really, really slum squatter area. I can survive Manila. It's a calling. Most people don't ever find their calling. And most of the time it's because they're too busy looking for their soulmates. They never even find their own soul. That's too deep, but How are you gonna know what you like when you don't even know who you are? Your insecurities, your desires, your ego, your vices, your weaknesses. Everybody's got that void they're trying to fill. Me, I'm always just trying to fill is that a lie? I think it's not the truth. I will find if it's the truth or not. And usually it wasn't the truth. And I just see a whole world swimming in an ocean full of lies they believe is the truth. The soft foam mattresses, orthopedic, tempur-pedic, posturepedic, chiropractic, and memory foam is all a scam. Don't share that. Somebody will kill me for that one, because that's a multi-billion-dollar industry. The documentation that we're doing, documentary that we're doing, is maybe to help illustrate that there's always a way.
Meron akong nararamdamin sakit sa tuhod ko.
I've been looking for manghihilot.
I feel this pain always in my back.
Magaling yung reviews sa kanya, okay.
Na-fix niya na rin yung problem ko with regards sa footing ko kasi mahirap maglakad.
And I just moved and I went around and I would look for clients to train, look for people to heal. And one day I saw some guys playing darts. And the guy playing darts had the same mannerism as my sensei. And he would throw a dart, and then he would go like that, and he'd throw a dart. I just walked up to the guy and I said, "Would you like me to fix your shoulder?"
Yung lola ko yung kay coach schedule. Kaso, a day before ng schedule niya, namatay siya. Gusto niya daw ako tulungan. Sabi niya, mag-set lang daw ako ng appointment and libre na daw yun. So, sino man din matatanggi sa libre, di ba?
Looked at me, I'm just a stranger. Who's this weirdo? I said, just let me fix you have nothing to lose. Let me fix your shoulder. And I did my magic. Then he went and threw 3 bullseyes. The mannerism was gone, or the pain.
Mercy is for the weak. We do not train to be merciful here. Mercy is for the weak.
That's from karate. He asked me to meet his father. Then I met his father, and then we scheduled, I think he said, can just come on a certain day and do what they call hilot. And I said, sure. So I showed up, and it was like 12 people. And I fixed all of them. Then next thing you know it, I'm a coach for a basketball team. I became the conditioning coach, so I had to research how basketball players train, and because I understand kinesiology, I understand sports. A player would get injured during the game, halftime, we go into the what do they call that? It's not dugout, locker room. I'm still thinking baseball dugout. We'd come back out for the second half, and that player who was injured is no longer injured. And after about 3.5 years of being on that basketball team, I realized that none of the players had to do physical therapy. They didn't use this kinesio tape. They weren't taking painkillers. Over the years, then I started working with older people. Nobody called me Coach Ken, they just called me Ken. Hey, Ken, can you help my grandmother? She's got Parkinson's. Or my husband's grandmother. She's 86 years old. I said, well, you know what? Anything's possible. If the person has the will and the mindset or the attitude or the energy, anything's possible. So I went to see this old lady, and she, had to, shaking, her tongue was moving, you couldn't understand what she was saying, and she had a hip replacement and a knee replacement. Anyways, I worked with her for 3 months. After working with her for 3 months, she stopped having the shakes, and she flew up to Alaska and did a 5K walk in Alaska. That's pretty amazing, and the woman still drove. I always just fix people in some way or another, kind of like a handyman. You go to your friend's house and the gutter's falling apart, and I'm like, hey, grab your ladder, let's fix it. Hey, your grandma's shaking. Let's see if we can fix her. I'm just a guy that fixes things. Sometimes I go to a hotel and I see a crooked picture hanging in the lobby. I'll just walk over there and fix it. And it's been a wonderful journey. And by the way, the journey was that, if you remember, was the 10,000 people in 10 years. I'm going to hit 5,000 people in the next week.
Face up.
I can barely reach it before.
Hey, good, good. He's good. Come and be treated by him. He's so good.